Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's week 5 of our 7 weeks of self awareness journey. I hope this series is serving you and that you're benefiting from it and applying it into your life. So, my name is Salma Ghaznavi, and I'm the founder of The Magnificent Me. My passion is really to facilitate and teach people to live their magnificence. What happens is oftentimes we hide, we don't step up fully and completely, whether it's from fear, whether it's from lack of self-confidence, whatever it may be, we hide and we don't shine our light. So basically the whole purpose of my life is so to teach people to change their stories so they can shine their magnificence, they feel empowered, and they live their life fully and boldly. Today's topic is again, in my opinion, it's quite interesting because we live our lives so unconsciously. So all the topics that we've been talking about is really to so that we can become a lot more self-aware. And today's topic is what are the limits that you're setting for yourself so that you are actually not able to soar, to live to your fullest potential. And oftentimes it's really the conditioning, the beliefs that we have bought into, and therefore a story that we are telling ourselves. Let me illustrate this with something that happened some time ago. So there was a time when it was impossible to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. It was thought that it can be very fatal for the heart, and it can cause great damage. So there was nobody that had actually broken this record, and but there was one gentleman, Roger Bannister, who believed differently, and as a result he trained, he conditioned his mind, he did the mindset work and physical work and whatever was needed, and he set the goal to beat this record. And in 1954 he actually ran, and he did it in 3 minutes and a little over 59 seconds. He broke the record. He did something that was thought to be impossible and that could have even caused someone death. But he believed it differently. Why? Because he told himself a different story, and therefore he did the preparation and what was required. And the strange thing is, when he changed his story, this had a ripple effect. He allowed others, or rather enabled others, to change their stories, because not long after that, a little less than 2 months, there was another gentleman, an Australian guy, Mr. Langley, who accomplished this in 3 minutes and a little over 57 seconds. What was considered to be impossible forever was done. The record was broken. And what followed was there were more and more people who started doing that. So, was it really an impossible task, or was it about a conditioning, a story, an influence that was impregnated in people's minds that this was impossible? Now, imagine if Roger Bannister had bought into that story. He probably wouldn't have achieved it. He wouldn't have achieved it because he wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't have done the work. He would have said, but it's impossible. Think about a time when you had such a conditioning and you wanted something so badly, but you believed otherwise. You didn't think it was possible, and as a result, sorry, excuse me, speeding cars, what can you do? This is all beautiful summer in Toronto, Canada. So what is it that you have sold yourself short of? What have you been telling yourself where you want to do something but you don't believe it, and you try and try and try, and then you say, I can't do it, and then you try again and you can't do it. Can you relate? There are so many people out there, people that I've spoken to, people that you see, and I'm sure you've experienced that, because I have. And you want to do something and you really make the effort, but you don't go all the way. Why? Because there's a threshold, there's a limit where you say, no, I can't go beyond it. Now we can look at all these cases and all these accomplishments like Roger Bannister and others, and we can do so in great admiration, and which is great. But what are we learning from it? It's not just a story, it's an example. These are trend setters. All right. And if they can do it in one area, you can do it. You can do it in one area and more areas. Let me give you another example. I'm just giving you these illustrations just so that it is relatable and you can understand how the conditioning and the stories that we tell limit us. So there was a study done in Canada amongst, I believe it was university students in 2006. And here there was a group A, so there were around 200 women who were given this research paper which stated that men had a better aptitude and they tended to do much better in math due to genetical factors. And this fake paper was presented to these ladies. Now there was another group of students who didn't get this fake research paper. Nothing was given to them, and they were these both groups were asked to take a math exam. And when they had completed the exams and the results came out, group A, first of all, who do you think would have scored better? Well, the results showed that group A scored less than group B. Group B's score in math was higher. Is this due to the conditioning? Was this due to the research paper that group A had read and they didn't believe that they could do just could do better because the conditioning was there that men had that? It was fake, but this was planted into their mind. Now there's so many studies out there which show the effect of conditioning, of these influences that are impregnated in our minds. And oftentimes what happens is it happens so unconsciously that we actually buy into it. We don't even know we are buying into it. It's just so spontaneous, it just comes. Now the sad thing is this very thing. Now it might be an influence from outside, or it might be a belief that you have, or an interpretation, a perception that you have, and this really limits you, me, us, from really living to our highest potential. I want you to think of an example of a condition, of a goal that you really want to achieve, but somehow you're not convinced you can. You have a threshold and you try and then you come back. You try and you come back. And yet you see other people doing it and you say, oh my goodness, how is this even possible? Like you have great admiration for them and you think maybe it's genetics, or they're naturally gifted. Is it really genetics, or they're gifted, or is it that, I mean, agreed that there are some people who are more skilled at a certain thing than others, but not in every case. So is it really that these people are at a higher advantage, or is it because they are telling themselves a different story? Now the impact, if you realize the impact, this is so great, because we are living our lives so much less than our capabilities, all of us, because unconsciously we have just bought into certain notions and we have bought into this lie. So I invite you to actually think of a situation where you are not performing to your highest because of a notion, because of a belief that you have. Look at it, stare it in the eye, challenge it, and see how you can write a different story. Now, this is a whole big topic which I cannot go into right now because of the limitation, but there is definitely a belief, a story that you're telling yourself. I also want you to look, because the opposite is also true. So look at a situation or in your life where you have accomplished something, where others thought it's impossible, where it was very difficult, perhaps you didn't even have the skills, but you were determined to do it for whatever reason. Maybe it was a non-negotiable, it was something that was very, very important to you, but whatever it was, you accomplished it. And if you look at look at things that have transpired, it's not just one thing, there are several things that you have accomplished. On the other side, where you had raised your threshold, where you had said, I can do it and I will do it, I must do it, and you did it. And I wonder if you stop to recognize and acknowledge that, because oftentimes we are our worst enemies or best friends, and oftentimes we don't give ourselves credit for the accomplishments that we have achieved. So I hope you look at that, acknowledge it, appreciate it. I invite you to write your comments, your insights, your inspirations below, so that everyone can benefit from where you are and your examples and your experiences. And if you feel that this video has served you, please feel free to share it with your family and friends. Till we meet again next week, live your magnificence and let your light shine. Much love and much blessings. Salma.